Hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone who is watching us right now. I'm Reshmi and I am a product manager with Static Web Apps. And today, with our second ever edition of Community Standup, we are super excited to talk about the local development scenario in Static Web Apps. And it's going to be a power packed session, you guys. So, without further ado, let me bring on the other participants in the call today. We have Wasim, who is a developer at
Right.
Workit, and he is the brainchild behind the topic that we're going to talk about today. And also, we do have Vamsi, who is a developer in Static Web Apps. So I'm
Mm.
going to give you two a quick minute to do an introduction, and then we can go ahead.
Go ahead, Vamsi.
I'm an engineer in the static web apps team, and I've been working on a lot of exciting stuff recently. So, and I'm currently working from India. So, yeah, that's it from my side. I'm gonna give the mic to Wasim.
Yeah, hi. So I'm Wassim. I'm based in France, and I am part of the developer advocate engineer here at Microsoft, working on Azure and other technologies. And yeah, I happen to have worked on the SWA CLI previously.
Yeah, this is. I'm just going to take 1 second and going to talk about how SWA CLI, if people are not aware of, is going to be the topic for the day. And if you haven't tried your hands on it, this is the cue. You look at the video, you see how amazing a tool it is, and quickly jump to it. So, again, thank you so much, Wasim and Vamsi, to join me in this call today. And now, before we go towards the crux of the topic, what we want to really do is to thank the community for all that they have done and also give a shout out to all the achievements that we had in the last 1 month. So, to present, we have a content called the community stand up, as you can see in this page. So you can quickly go to the URL, which is aka.ms/swa/community. Every month in this page, you get the latest updates of what all has happened across the community. You get to know about the product, you get to know about people who have done submissions about tech blogs, content, etc. And you also hear about your own work, which you have put across to us. And thank you so much for presenting these things. So the two of my fellow colleagues, Nitya and Sarah, work really hard to bring these content together. And I did do a glimpse through and picked up a few things which I would really like to talk about because we are for the community, right? We want to talk and showcase the work that you have put together. So, quickly starting off with the product updates, as you can see, we recently came up with this amazing announcement that next year's hybrid support now has support for not only just the server rendering apps, but we also have support for standalone and separation between the static dynamic content. So I've already heard a lot of goss about how this is helping their improvements and how people want to explore more. But feel free to drop in these discussions. You just have to go to our Static Web Apps GitHub repo and you go to the discussions. You see a good thread on how folks are using this across. You see a thread on what exactly people are doing and what exactly are the features which are promoted. We are here monitoring your asks and we will make sure that these asks and features are prioritized. So this was our next year's. And now I want to take a couple of minutes to just talk about the amazing submissions that we have seen. Like, for suppose we started off with James, who has submitted this video about his journey on static web apps and how he could migrate all the websites that he owns as a passion project into static web apps for free of cost. So make sure you do visit this website, you do visit this video and check it out. And looking at the community submissions, we did have one of our student advocates, Kevin, who journeyed his whole portfolio being dumped into Azure Static Web Apps, and now he uses this as a portfolio resume to apply to companies. So he has very illustratively shown the whole journey of how do you create, what are the things you do with a lot of illustrations. Please feel free to check it out and leave comments and support its work. And also, we did have Arnav who gave us a submission on their serverless journey using multiple services in Azure, right? You're talking about static web apps, functions, Cosmos DB, all power packed in one, and that too for a free SKU. So, what's keeping you from trying this? totally recommend you guys should go explore this. And I can't wait for one to see what are the next things that we have over here. So, this was for the community, and I know you guys might have questions. So, just a reminder, feel free to keep dropping questions. We are monitoring the chat. We will pick the questions and we will answer them. But now, let's go to the main topic. So, Wasim, over to you.
Yeah, let's dive in. So yeah, I'm going to show you what the SWA CLI can do, and what I have here actually is an app I built today, like
Hmm.
for the event. It's basically a chatbot using OpenAI. So
Oh,
basically, it's an Angular app for the UI and using a API backend that talks to the OpenAI. Um, you log into. So I'm here. I'm using the SWA CLI, and I'll show you like what the command I use to start the SWA CLI. Basically, I'm using the local emulation UI that we provide, part of the SWA CLI,
mhm,
to let's say fake the authentication locally because I don't care to be logged in locally. Or basically, yeah, I'm providing my username and a couple of roles and also some claims that I need for my app. And then click login, and then I'm logged into my app and I can chat. Um, we don't care about what the app does, like a chatbot. It can say like, "Hey, tell me a joke." Then it's gonna ping locally the API, which itself gonna call the OpenAI endpoint and give me a response. That's like a really simple app. Now I'm gonna take this app and like deploy it to static web apps. So for that, I will need to use a tool that the tool we built, this which is the SWA CLI,
mhm.
static web apps CLI for short, SWA CLI. So I'm gonna switch to my VS Code. This is the app, like really simple, like couple of files. This is the API, as I mentioned, and this is like one single component for Angular. And something that's interesting to mention is, well, first of all, you need to install the SWA CLI. I guess that link will point you to the getting started, how to get it like running locally. I have it basically bundled with my app here. I have it like as a like a local dependency, so that I can use it like locally. So first thing is that we wanted, like when we sat down last for the last like big release for GA, we wanted actually to provide all the commands that you need to get you started from like local development to deploying to Azure Static Web Apps. So we provided a bunch of new commands for you. The first one, which is the init command. So what the init command does is basically it will set up a configuration file for your for your project, and for that it's gonna basically analyze your structure and your technical stack to guess what framework are you using for the backend, for the UI as well, and then it's gonna basically generate a configuration file. So I have that configuration file here already generated because, as I mentioned, I was working on the app today. Well, basically, what we can do, I can basically, let's say, remove it and then generate a new one, just to show you how the experience is. So I'm gonna use, I'm calling SWA with npx. That's for like for Node.js folks, they know what that is. It's basically just calling my local SWA binary instead of the global one. So I'm calling the init subcommand, and it's gonna basically try to figure out my local configuration and then provide me with the default configuration. It asked me for a name, so I'm gonna use the default one. And then here, so it figured out that I'm using Angular as a framework for the UI and the Node.js API. It also figured out the output location for Angular. It figured out the location for the API and all the commands that I will need to use to build the app. And it also basically configured my local dev server URLs for me. So I'm happy with the configuration. I can say yes, save it. And now it tells me, okay, now from now on, you have the configuration. Then to start the app locally, use the SWA start. To build it, use SWA build, and deploy it, use SWA deploy. So I'm going to use npx SWA start. So, okay, the thing is that I have the app already running on the background. Let me try again. Or basically, if we detect that your user the port is not available, we can ask you to choose another one. But I'm just gonna start again and let it use the default. Okay, or probably not, because now it's okay. npm use. It looks like npm 60. I wasn't using the right Node.js version. That happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Let's start again. npx SWA start. So what this SWA start command does is basically it's going to read that configuration file that we generate, and it's going to start on your behalf the Angular dev server, and also it's going to start the Node.js API func dev server for you, and then basically connect the two of them through this 40 to 80 port. Now my app is up and running here, as you can guess. Or basically, that's like localhost port 40 to 80. That's the default port for the SWA CLI. And yeah, my app is running. I can test it like hi. Yeah, and then yeah, the chatbot is responding with some gibberish. I'm not an AI expert. I just like basically read the tutorial and like tried to configure the OpenAI. I need to go through it and like basically make it train it well. Anyways, that's not important. The important thing is that my app is running and I tested. I'm happy with the result. Now I want to deploy it. So the next step, I can just basically just stop the dev servers, Command C to close everything. The next step would be obviously to deploy it. So, but first of all, you need to build it. I need to build my app locally before deploying the artifacts. So you could either build the front end application and the back end separately by yourself using your like default commands, or you can use the SWA CLI to build it, because remember during the init command it figured out the build commands that we can use. So I can try and then SWA build, not npm npx. So this is going to call SWA build, which is going to read the same configuration file and then run basically those magic commands for us. And by the way, if you don't have the configuration file, you could still use SWA build and give it the right arguments as well. Okay, so it built the UI and then it built the API, but because the API is a Node.js, like vanilla Node.js, there's nothing to build. All right, cool. So now my app is built. Next step is to deploy it. So
Yeah.
what is the command to deploy a SWA app?
No brainer.
Deploy. So again, the deploy process is a little bit complex under the hood, but basically I can like just describe it really quick. So first of all, we again read that configuration file again, and then because we need to grab your output location like artifacts and also the API, build those, which we did during the previous command. We also need to log you into Azure because we need to grab a lot of information about your project, or if you don't have an existing project, we can create one for you. For that, we have bonus command. We call it like SWA login. Basically, it's run part of the SWA deploy, but you can also run it independently if you want to. So here, this is what happened actually. As you can see here, check in Azure session, successfully logged into Azure. Under the hood, we called SWA login for you. And then because I was already logged in my Azure previously. So it basically just reused that session. Otherwise, you
Yes.
will you have to go through the login screen from your browser, and then we grab those tokens for you. Now it's asking me, hey, do you want to create a new application or use an existing one? The SWA CLI supports creating a new resource group for you by default. So that's like baked in. Otherwise, you can just choose another one. And because I've already created the OpenAI chat application previously this afternoon, I can just reuse it. Oh, like let's play a game. Let's create a new one. Demo. Okay. OpenAI chat demo.
I love how the part where CLI is already like autofilling a lot of things for you, so you technically don't have to write everything from the
Yeah,
start, right?
that was like a requirement from that part of our developer experience. We wanted that to be really provided by the SWA CLI. So basically, yeah. Now it's gonna create a project for me on Azure on my behalf using my subscription and my basically my session. And then once it's finished, it's gonna basically use like another tool. Like you don't as a user, you don't need to know about all of this. I'm just giving you like like a lot of details here. Basically, we are using a tool which is the same binary tool, by the way, that we are using across our GitHub Actions as well. We use it and then we deploy everything to the cloud. And now it deployed the app and it gave me the URL to preview my application. So I'm not going to click on the app. I mean, I can show it to you, but I know this probably not going to work because on the backend, I need some API like access keys for OpenAI, and I didn't set that up. I need to go through the portal and then set those up. However, I'm going to remove the configuration file we just generated and just reuse the previous one because it has basically it has my app name and my resource group name, which are already configured with my OpenAI configuration. However, this time I'm going to redeploy the app, but I'm not going to use SWA init, SWA build, SWA deploy. I'm just going to use our magic command, which is
Just swap.
npx SWA. Like for you, it's going to be just SWA. So what does SWA is like we call it the magic command because it initializes the app, it builds it's log you in, and then it deploys all at once. Well, obviously, it's going to ask you questions, if are you sure when to deploy or not. So do you want to deploy the app? Yes, I want to deploy the app. And now it's reading my, my previous configuration from this afternoon because it has the same, like the exact resource group, which is already configured. Asking me for my login session, accept, go back. By default, it's deploying to a preview environment, but I can change that to a production environment if I want to. Now it's built everything locally, and now it's deploying. And it's actually pretty quick, like 15, 20 seconds. Okay, it deployed the app, and now I have my preview app running. I can just, let me check. Hello there. Okay, it's working. So my backend could talk to the OpenAI endpoint. And I think that's all. Do we have other commands?
Am I reading it right? Did it just say 48 seconds for the whole of the journey from starting from the code base to init, build, and deploy?
Yes. Somehow around like less than a minute. But here, like the deploy process is really like quick. What could take time is the build process. Like if you're building your app, your Angular app or React or whatever, and the backend also, if you're using TypeScript, for instance, it needs to build those. So this will add some time to the whole experience. But this is outside of outside of the SWA CLI
Yeah, that makes
experience.
sense. But basically, to summarize the SWA CLI experience, apart from all the Power Pack commands that we just showed, it's a single tool which basically helps you go all the way from your local system to the cloud with
Yeah.
just a set of couple of commands.
Or
And
or one
the
command.
actually, yeah, just one command. I take back my words. Just one magical command. Maybe just an npm install before that, but apart from that, you're just talking
Yeah.
about one single command. But the best part being, all of this is for free. You just like play around. It's everything is open source and everything is free, right?
Yes, and even the app we create for you is using the free tier. So then, if you want to upgrade, then you will have to go. You have to go to the portal and then upgrade yourself.
I This is amazing. So I think like now that we have looked at the demo and we have seen folks like play around with it, try a lot, and what an amazing application, Wasim, by the way. I don't know, you just like picked it from the scratch, but I am so happy you picked it up. I can see a few folks who are like discussing in the chat about a couple of asks on maybe showing how we can debug it like in Blazor application, if this is something when you're doing it locally. I know the current application that we did was a
Yeah.
node-based application, but it is possible, right? So I'm going to quickly bring in Vamsi as well in the chat. So Vamsi is the current engineer in Static Web Apps who is working on these code changes as well. So I'm going to let him talk about the contribution side of things and then maybe we can pick up the question. So thank you so much, Wasim, once again. And I am going to give the screen to Vamsi.
Hey everyone. So I'm just gonna start with debugging Blazor app in the
Okay.
locally, and then like yeah,
Yeah.
just have it open. So this is the sample Blazor app I have, and I generated the config file using the SWA init, and this is how static SWA CLI detects the app folder and API folder, and it gave me a nice SWA CLI config file. And
Can I
these
just stop you 1 second, Vamsi? You might have to
yeah
just zoom in a little bit, just like a control plus.
yeah
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thank you.
that's better. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So yeah, this is generated using SwineIt, and I went into the API folder and started funcstart, started the backend using the funcstart, and I got a Blazor API up and running. Now I'm just gonna use swastart to debug this locally. So I have my app location here, and it's gonna use the API dev server URL that I provided. Uh, but yeah, quick note before this. So for serving the static content, you need to build it first. So I already built it using SWA build. So that's a uh, prerequisite. That's a step before this. And now you can see this is my Blazor. I don't know if you can see the browser.
No, right now
Can you see the browser?
we're only seeing the waistcoat screen. Can you try bringing up the
Yeah,
browser
yeah,
again?
yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. Meanwhile, I have a question here in the chat, Wasim. So maybe we can pick this up while we have the screen getting ready.
That's the question for me. Yeah. You set up your environment variable in the source area config, and this was so yeah. So the question is about configuring the environment, the variable environments for my API. So basically, in the Node.js ecosystem, I'm using the .env package, which basically allows you to create a .env file where you put your environment variables, and then through the code you basically load that configuration. So this working locally, like perfectly as expected. However, on the runtime instance, like cloud instance, you will have to go through the portal or use the AZ CLI to add a configuration values to your application as environment variables. I hope that answers the question.
Yep. I hope it answers as well. And now that we have Vamsi's screen back, I'm just gonna bring it up.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So it is running locally, and yeah, this fetch data and I can show how it is fetching the data. So uh, internal this calls the function API that is running in the background, and it fetches the data from the background and shows you here in the front end. So this is how SWA CLI configures and connects the front end and the back end. Yep.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that impromptu demo, Vamsi.
Yeah.
And obviously, we do have a couple more things to discuss on SWA Live. So, folks who are watching the show, I know you might be buzzing with a lot of questions. You have the core team right now in the call. So, feel free to drop your questions in the chat. We will be picking it up, we will get it answered. And I'm going to give it off to Vamsi for doing the next session.
Yeah. So SWA is an open source community, and everyone's contributions are welcome. And if you want to raise a bug or request a feature request or like improve documentation, that is excellent. Like you can just go to our contributing page. You can just go to the um, SWA CLI page in the GitHub, and then like request get a request a feature or like bug report. Or if you want to contribute, then you can contribute to the SWA CLI, and there are a couple of guidelines you can follow. You should follow, and uh, these are the guidelines that we follow in general to uh, raise a PR or like contribute to open source. So uh, yeah, this is the main GitHub repo of the SWA CLI, and everyone's contributions are welcome.
Thank you so much for that, Vamsi. And we do celebrate all sorts of contributions, right? We
Yeah,
are a big fan of the open source community, and we have a
yeah,
page dedicated to talking about who has helped us contribute where and how can we encourage this further. So a quick shout out to all the folks who have contributed so far, and we are only looking for a journey upwards, right? We are looking for more folks to make this as their passion project and help in improving the whole SWA experience. So, thank you so much once again, Vamsi and Wasim. Looks like we are good on time for SWA CLI. So, do we have any more questions? Let me quickly check the chat. Yes, we do have one more question from Thomas. So, I can just bring that up on the screen.
Is this SWA CLI the one providing support for RENV? So yes, we do have support. Basically, when you call the SWA login command, we walk you through the login process. In your Azure session, and then once we basically finish the login process, we create a .env file in your local project. So yes, the SWA CLI does create that file and does read it for its own like workflow. However, if you're using that .env file in your API, then you will have to load that package by yourself. Yes.
yeah,
Yes, that's Thomas just gave a follow-up comment, which is he's just saying it's for local dev. But yeah, I think you covered it up pretty well. So thank you so much for that, Wasim. We do have a good number of resources where you can learn more about SWA, you can learn more about SWA CLI. So I'm just going to keep firing them up on the screen. So aka.ms/SWA is where you have all the resources for anything static web apps. It's the official link for our documentation. You can see all the latest tutorials, quick starts, guides, etc. If you want to learn more about SWA CLI specifically, you go to aka.ms/swas-cli-ga. It's the screen which we saw sometime back, which Wasim shared. It's a very detailed. Wasim, I'm just going to bring up the screen again because I want to show how beautifully we have the content put together. So as you can see in this page, right, like it's completely set up with sections on which command does what. If you click on each of them, you can go further and look into what exactly is the set of commands that you need to use, how exactly the experience is. You even have example code. So everything is put together in a very beautiful way. And a huge shout out to Nitya to do all of this together before the GA. So this is your one-stop resource for all things SWA CLI. And now going to community, the screen that I had shared earlier, right? A place where it's pretty much going to be with one URL if you had to figure out everything that's happening on static web apps from the product and from the community and what are the upcoming feature announcements, who are the developer resources and the advocates and everyone else in the community who is doing anything for static web apps. Just this one blog. You just go to ak.ms/swa/community. You will have all the resources at one place every month, curated just for you. So please do go visit that. And finally, this is going to be your survey link just for us to understand better on what are the things that we should cover for you in the sessions, what are the things that you would like to hear us talk about, and what is the one thing which you would like to change or maybe like modify in the way we are presenting content. So please take a couple of seconds whenever you can. Go to this link. I'm going to drop this link in the chat as well so we can pick this up later. But please take a couple of seconds and let us know what are the features, what are the presentation content, and what more would you like to hear from us. So that's pretty much what we had for today. I'm hoping that we did hit the time mark in a very
Yeah.
positive way. So looking forward to the future sessions. But Wasim and Vamsi, over to you guys. Do you have any closing comments on anything, Swasila? Actually, I do have a couple of questions for you, Wasim, if that's okay.
Sure.
I,
Yeah.
wa- I've been very curious. Like you have you have pretty much caused the inception of Swasila, right? So can you give us a little more context on what exactly went behind your mind? But like, how did this idea come up, and how did
Well,
you get this into picture?
yeah, sure. So, so actually, when I joined Microsoft, like almost 3 years ago, static web apps was still like a work in progress, like the service we have on Azure. And then I had the opportunity to actually work with the team so that I can provide feedback internally before the product got released. So during that process, because I had like given a lot of feedback, um, I thought actually I could like build a tool to help me, simplify the process so I can like debug locally before, deploy into cloud, wait for the CI/CD to build and then deploy, and then I have like can check my results. So I thought I could basically build something that can help me visualize the result locally. So this is how the CLI started. It was called the static web apps emulator initially. So you
Mm-hmm,
might find some old references like EMU in the docs. That was like the initial like prototyping, and it started as a local authentication emulator. Basically, we didn't have like a start command. We didn't have like build anything. It was just like basically trying to emulating the the auth experience because that was one of the blockers locally because you cannot do it
mm-hmm,
locally. And yeah, this is
mm-hmm.
how it started basically. Yeah, as a me trying to like fiddle with the tool and have something that can help me close the feedback loop, instead of like deploying to Azure, wait for feedback, and then um, make my changes. So yeah,
Yeah, I see.
this is how it started.
It has definitely improved a lot of our developer time resources, especially like when you have everything in just your local code base and you're just trying it out, testing it out, seeing how exactly it looks like inside Go Apps before you actually deploy it, right? So it's been a bliss, and I have had my share of fun time. Usually in all my demos, I just have Sauciela as a part of it. So yeah, thank you so much for
Okay.
this. I'm glad this idea just popped by and you got it implemented. And I know Vamsi also might resonate to the same. So Vamsi, do you
Yeah.
have anything to add?
Yeah. Like it's been, I don't know any other way to debug static web locally, honestly. So I'm just using SWA CLI since the startup. my journey, and yeah, it's been amazing. And I just want to add one more thing. So whoever is watching, so keep watching this space, and because like, we are getting a lot of new and exciting features in SWA CLI, and like next year's support, where we support server rendering and hybrid rendering, and we also are planning to support SWA CLI on Node 18 as well. So, and a lot of exciting features are coming. So, yeah, keep watching this space. And
Yep. Thank you so much for that. And you did get a shout out, Vamsi, for
uh,
doing a very impromptu demo. So kudos for that.
thank you. Uh,
Awesome. So we are doing good on time, and everyone who participated in today's show, thank you so much for being there. The stream will be available uh, later on for on-demand watch. So if you have more questions, feel free to drop it in the chat, and we'll pick it up and we'll answer it. But feel free to reach out to us if you have any more suggestions, feature asks, and anything static web apps. We are here for you. So thank you
Yeah.
so much once again, and see you all the next
Thank
time.
you. Bye bye.
see you. Bye.
Yep.